aspect, when it comes to the term recreation. Could you share an interesting finding from a study on recreation itself?
Yeah, sure. There's lots, but I think there's the one of the ones that I like to talk about a bit is from 2019, and it's
Mm,
really a study that kind of captured, I'll say, a basket of studies and reported kind of, this is the state of the nation in a sense of what's going on in terms of how nature-based recreation experiences can impact mental health of like a range of folks.
mhm.
And what the researchers did in that study was they looked at, they tried to basically cast a broad net and look at all the research that was out there and then try to, synthesize that and just report on, where things are at and what people had found, so that people could really have a kind of a, place to go to really understand, again, it's kind of the state of the nation, what was happening at that point, what was the state of knowledge. And basically what they found was that several of the studies, responded or saw that there were really positive impacts from being, outside in nature. And it doesn't have to be like a wilderness area. It could be your park. It could be your backyard. It could be, walking down your street, just as long as you're out, in nature, however people define that. Could be that range from, your backcountry camping experience, canoeing experience to, again, that city park or green space that's just down the street from wherever you might live.
Mhm.
And what they found were things like, improved perceptions of anxiety and stress, improved ideas of body image, being away from kind of the stereotypical beliefs of what it was to be a person in a non-nature-based setting. Um, you know, Decrease in depression. I mentioned anxiety and stress.
Mhm.
Um, Better cognition. Some people had a clearer thinking. Um, are able to think more clearly, I guess.
Yeah.
Improve mental health, overall well-being, improve physical health. Just kind of the laundry list of all of those things that I think we intuitively know, but then the research did show more specifically that there were definitely positive, significantly positive impacts on people being in nature-based. And again, this was geared towards mental health impacts. Um, yeah, so I think that's really neat to, that there is that research that shows that being in those places does make an impact for sure.
For sure, and it's really great to have that, like, scientifically backed up too, because it seems like something like you said, it seems intuitive, like, it makes sense, so
Mm.
to have that intuitiveness mixed with the actual data behind it, I love when that stuff comes together, it's very great.
Yeah. I do too. I think it's, I think again, going back to the COVID pandemic, I think it's one of those recreation and leisure and therapeutic rec services in particular, I think are one of those things that a lot of people take for granted until we don't have access to them. We
No,
think
for real, that's true.
yeah, it's great, like to be able to, we can just walk down the street, hopefully to a park or green space, or access our community recreation center or programs for, you know, people of all ages. And then when those things close down, I think people really realize the importance of those services and places to their health and overall health and well-being.
Yeah,
And I think, there's been a little bit of a renewed interest, I think, in recreation and leisure services across the board because of that. And I think people, again, have become, more appreciative of what rec and leisure professionals and therapeutic rec professionals do for them on a daily basis because of lack of access to those services. So, yeah, I think the pandemic wasn't a good thing, but it was a good thing, I think, in hindsight, in terms of people appreciating rec and leisure again, maybe more fully, or at least being more aware of the benefits of it.
yeah, yeah, sorry, my brain just kind of went into a bit of a weird tangent there, but that this kind of like when people talk about the positives and negatives of COVID, I always get a little bit because the pandemic was extremely helpful for me in a lot of ways, not just with my mental health, but with my understanding of myself and my understanding of the world around me, and finally like figuring out a lot about myself. I can't really expand more on it without going on into a whole other tangent, but um definitely that outdoor piece played a role in it for sure because when you're kind of stuck to one place, it does impact your mental health a lot. And I think people definitely saw the benefit of, leaving the house just from that time period alone. It's like when the choice is taken away from you, it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I had done a study in Canada looking at impacts of COVID on recreationists, and we started it during the pandemic. And I hadn't really asked too much about mental health, and had asked one open-ended question at the end of the survey, and it was just like, anything else you want to tell us about impacts? And by and large, the biggest comments or the most comments we got were all around mental health impacts of not being able to access, regular outdoor recreation places. And this was early on when, there was the real lockdown where people weren't really allowed to go anywhere. And then as things slowly opened up, particularly outdoor spaces, that changed, over time. People were reporting less mental health impacts. So it really was, I would say, an eye opener on, both ways, like positive and negative ways, for sure.
Definitely. Yeah. And thank you for sharing that.
If you want to hear more stories, don't forget to subscribe, comment, and like. To support more youth by youth led projects, visit us at youthspeak.ca, where you can donate and spread youth mental health awareness.
YouthSpeak Charity. Speak, inspire, change.